There's always a risk for injury in any sport, right? I mean, that's just part of the game. Things are going to happen, but when you are a pitcher, it's almost inevitable, Curtis. It's like at some point, you're going to get banged up. That throwing motion is so crazy. And when you throw the stank and the juice that Matt Brash has, you appeared in 78 games. You felt like, all right, this was possibly going to happen, but it's bad news so far. So I'm going to read this from the Seattle Times' Ryan Divish. Here's what Divish said. There's a name missing from the projected bullpen who was expected to play a major role this season. Right-hander Matt Brash was shut down from throwing after feeling banged up following his bullpen session last Tuesday. The young reliever didn't provide many details, but looked down at his elbow during the conversation. The Mariners manager, Scott Service, had no details on the situation, both in his morning media sessions and in a recent radio interview. He wouldn't provide details on where Brash was hurting. Service said they will have an update to the issue in the next couple of days. Industry sources believe that Brash could miss an extensive amount of time, possibly the season, even if the updates are positives on Brash's arm. He likely won't be ready to go for the opening day, and the Mariners certainly won't rush his progress. This is not what we wanted to hear, Curtis, but when you did hear it, were you shocked? I wasn't shocked. I mean, it hurts, but this is part of the game, and Brash has thrown a lot of pitches and had a lot of appearances last year.
Yeah, and relief pitching nowadays is you are throwing 100% of your effort 100% of the time. Like you cannot, build to 100% the way I think a lot of starting pitchers do. Like you have to be coming out firing the second your foot touches the mound. And Brash has done that, and you look at just the amount of torque and the amount of, velocity that he's using and the amount of spin that he's getting on his pitches. Like, you don't get spin without, really torquing your arm and your elbow, and he has the most of it of anybody with that slider. And then on top of that, his usage rate last year, leading Major League Baseball in appearances, was 78. The next highest guy was Justin Topa with 75. It sounds like, well, obviously Topa's not a Mariner anymore. He's with Minnesota, but it sounds like Brash is not going to be with the Mariners at least to start the season. That is a ton of innings that you're looking to replace. And the only holdover of your high leverage guys from last year would be Andres Munoz. Now, Gregory Santos, I can obviously see why they went out and made that trade. I don't know if the knowledge of Brash's elbow was known at the time of the Santos trade, but here we are, and Santos appears to be getting healthier. I think he's going to increase his throwing program. I think Shannon Dreher tweeted that out this morning. But Santos becomes a much bigger piece to the puzzle now than what we had, I think, hoped for him at the time of the trade, especially with Brash looking like he will miss at least the start of the season, if not potentially more.
All bad news, man, but we hope that Santos is ready to go. I mean, that's partly why you bring him over, because pitchers get banged up. And yesterday, we're gonna try to be like a psychologist right here and try to get a vibe of Scott here in cut number 4 when he talked about Brash.
Yeah, we will hear more in the next couple days on where Matt is at. Obviously, he's a key part. He's one of the best bullpen arms in the league. He felt some soreness the other day. We're being very cautious with that.
Where is that soreness?
It's in his arm.
Okay.
I answered your question.
You
didn't I?
did.
It's his right arm, too.
It's in his throwing arm.
Yes.
Forearm? Arm, not shoulder.
Arm.
You know what baffles me with stuff like this? Why don't coaches just say what it is? It's not like it's going to influence anything else that any other team is going to do, right? If his elbow's sore, the elbow is sore. I don't understand why they're so afraid to leak this type of information.
Yeah, I think part of it is they don't want the fan base to freak out, but it looks like the fan base is doing a great. Yeah, it sounds like the fan base is doing a really good job of that, and maybe just being 100% honest would have caused less people to freak out the way that this report from Ryan Divish has caused a lot of people to have great concern with the Mariners bullpen going forward. Now, if Brash misses an extended period of time, how do you replace that production? Now, conventional wisdom would say go get another relief pitcher, but is that how the Mariners should replace the value that Brash brings to the team? Because let's look at the lineup right now, Bump. There's also another guy expected to miss some time, and that's Luis Urias, the third baseman that they acquired by giving up Isaiah Campbell to the Boston Red Sox. Matt Chapman is still available. He is still out there, and looking at the Cody Bellinger contract, it's clear that the market is shrinking for a lot of these guys, and the price tag is going down for a lot of these remaining free agents. Chapman, Blake Snell, another guy. Is that the route the Mariners need to take in order to replace this value lost by Matt Brash, by going out and getting a Chapman, signing a Blake Snell? There's a different way to replace the value lost by Brash by not just looking at the bullpen, but by looking elsewhere on this roster for opportunities to add. Because if you add Chapman, your lineup potentially could score more runs to where there's less pressure on your bullpen going forward. You're not going to maybe be in so many 1-2 run games and so many high leverage situations late in the ball game.
We got lawyers on the text line, and they're letting me know that it's against the law. HIPAA will come after you if you disclose some type of work injuries. Makes complete sense. But to go back to your point, right, how do you get better? Do you add an arm, or do you do something defensively or to that lineup? And cut number 8, Jordan Schusterman talks about that.
At the beginning of the offseason, when, especially after they traded Gino, I was like, okay, this would be kind of strange to just swap out Gino for Chapman. But now Chapman really fits quite well. Now, again, we have no idea what his demands are at this point, but that is a move now where if he was your one big move of the winter and you didn't change much else, I think that would be a little bit concerning. But I think now you could bring him in and he's someone in the lineup that fits more in that 5, 6, 7 range rather than that 2, 3, 4 range. Now it's a piece that when you consider the defense that he's bringing, I mean, I don't hate the plan to platoon Rojas and Urias, but if you want to act like what Cal Raleigh was saying at the end of last season, and you want to spend some money, go out and get some of the big guys, Matt Chapman qualifies as that. I know some Mariners fans think he's super overrated, but I don't really see an argument that he would not make this team better. I really don't.
I agree with that, because if you look at the text lines, you talk to people, and they're like, no Matt Chapman. There's a lot of people who are saying no to Matt Chapman, but some who are for it, right?
Yeah.
But you just got to understand who you're getting. You're not adding Matt Chapman just to bolster the power in this lineup and make it super explosive. You're getting him because you want to make sure defensively you're good at third base. You don't have to platoon at third base. And with this injury, it makes more sense now. I like the way that you laid it all out for the people, Curtis.
Yeah, because there's more than one way to replace the value lost in Matt Brash. You could go with a bat like Matt Chapman and a glove like Matt Chapman, or you could go a starting pitcher like Blake Snell and maybe, I don't know, move like Brian Wu to the bullpen for the year. You're just throwing ideas out there right now because there is no guarantee that we're going to see Matt Brash, and you want to have guarantees on this roster, especially – we were not considering Brash to be among the injury-prone players that are on this roster this year. Obviously, guys like Mitch Haniger was up there. Urias was up there. I think Mitch Garver was another name that people are like, well, if you can get a full season out of him, that's the hope. Not once this offseason did we really consider that Matt Brash could be among those. And now kind of looking at what his season was a year ago and just how hard he throws pitches, like, yeah, I think it should have been a consideration from a lot of us that bullpen arms are very finicky,